It was the summer of 1959 in Bombay, a city full of glamour, naval officers, and post-independence pride. But behind all the prestige and order, one crime of passion was about to shake the entire nation. Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're exploring one of India's most sensational and historic criminal cases, the K.M. Nanavati versus State of Maharashtra case. This was not just a murder trial. It was a story of love, betrayal, honor, and law. It changed how India looked at the jury system and remains one of the most talked about legal dramas in Indian history. So let's dive right into it. Our story begins with Commander Colonel Manekshaw Nanavati, a handsome, disciplined, and respected naval officer of the Indian Navy. He lived in Mumbai with his English-born wife Sylvia and their 3 children. Their life looked perfect from the outside, a loving family, a beautiful home, and social prestige. But beneath that picture-perfect life, something was broken. Because while Nanavati was away on long naval postings, Sylvia had begun an affair with his close friend, Prem Ahuja, a wealthy businessman and bachelor. When Nanavati returned from one of his trips, he sensed something was off. Sylvia had become distant, withdrawn, and cold. On April 27, 1959, Sylvia finally confessed to her husband that she was in love with another man, Prem Ahuja. Nanavati was devastated but composed. He asked her one question: "Will he marry you and take care of the children?" Sylvia didn't know the answer. Without saying much, Nanavati left home, dropped his family at the cinema, and drove straight to his ship to collect his service revolver under the pretext of self-protection. Then, he went directly to Prem Ahuja's flat at Nepean Sea Road. What happened next would change his life forever. Nanavati entered the flat, where Prem Ahuja was getting dressed. The officer calmly asked, "Are you going to marry my wife and take care of my children?" Prem reportedly replied casually, "Am I to marry every woman I sleep with?" Those words enraged Nanavati. In a fit of fury, he pulled out his revolver and fired 3 shots at Ahuja, killing him instantly. Moments later, Nanavati drove straight to the Naval Provost Marshal, confessed the entire act, and surrendered himself to the police. It was a crime that mixed love, loyalty, and rage, a story too human to fit neatly into legal definitions. When the trial began, it immediately captured the imagination of the public. Newspapers were filled with sensational headlines. The English-speaking elite supported Nanavati, seeing him as a man who acted in a moment of emotional distress. The case became a symbol of honor killing debated across drawing rooms and college campuses alike. The defense was led by Karl Kandalavala, a sharp and respected lawyer, who argued that Nanavati had no intention to kill Ahuja, that it was a crime of passion, not premeditated murder. They claimed that the shooting occurred in the heat of the moment after grave provocation, and therefore, under Indian Penal Code Section 304, it amounted to culpable homicide not amounting to murder. The prosecution, led by Public Prosecutor Ram Jethmalani, who would later become one of India's most famous lawyers, countered this fiercely. They argued that Nanavati had planned the murder. He collected the weapon, went straight to Ahuja's house, and killed him deliberately. This, they said, was clear-cut premeditated murder under Section 302 of the Indian Penal Code. The courtroom was divided, and so was the nation. The jury, 9 men from Bombay's upper middle class, sympathized deeply with Nanavati. After all, he was a loyal officer, a family man, and a victim of emotional betrayal. In November 1959, after weeks of heated testimony, the jury returned a verdict of not guilty by an overwhelming 8-1 vote. The courtroom erupted in cheers, but outside, legal circles were stunned. The public celebrated Nanavati as a hero who defended his honor, but the law demanded otherwise. The presiding judge, Justice R.B. Mehta, felt the verdict was perverse, completely against the weight of evidence, and immediately referred the case to the Bombay High Court. The High Court overturned the jury's decision and held Nenavati guilty of murder under Section 302, sentencing him to life imprisonment. The sensational reversal made headlines across India. It also exposed flaws in the jury system, how public sentiment and media bias could easily sway the jurors' minds. The Supreme Court later upheld a conviction, confirming that Nenavati had indeed committed murder. The jury system in India was formally abolished soon after this case, marking the end of an era. Nenavati was sent to prison, but his story didn't end there. His case continued to divide opinion. Some saw him as a murderer, others as a man who simply lost control after unbearable emotional pain. After serving 3 years in prison, Nenavati was granted a pardon by the then governor of Maharashtra, Vijayalakshmi Pandit. This came reportedly after Sylvia and Nenavati reconciled, and Prem Ahuja's sister consented to the pardon. The family soon left India and settled in Canada, where they lived quietly until Nenavati's death in 2003. The Nenavati case became a cultural phenomenon. It inspired countless novels, plays, and films, including the famous Bollywood movie Rustom, starring Akshay Kumar. But beyond the glamour and the gossip, the case posed serious legal and moral questions. What drives a person to take another's life in a moment of emotional breakdown? Should the law consider such crimes differently from cold-blooded murders? And can justice ever balance between human emotion and legal logic? The court's judgment reinforced that no matter how sympathetic the motive, taking the law into one's own hands cannot be justified. The law cannot be driven by emotion. It must be guided by reason. The Nenavati case also taught Indian society something deeper about the fragility of relationships, the cost of betrayal, and the danger of glorifying personal revenge as justice. In the end, it was not just a trial of one man, but a trial of a nation's conscience, between heart and law, between emotion and evidence. Today, more than 6 decades later, the Nenavati case continues to be remembered as one of India's most iconic criminal trials, the case that ended the jury system and defined the boundary between love, rage, and justice. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of India's most fascinating real-life cases, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more such stories from the world of law, justice, and human emotion. Until next time, stay curious and stay aware.